What's up,
Okay,
everybody?
we're live here at Facebook
And
as well. So
YouTube, what's up,
we got the whole social
everybody?
family today.
The whole social fam. So listen, we wanted to share something with you all that we were not planning on sharing. It just kind of like happened recently. I would say recently-ish. And we know that we're likely not the only ones who have gone through this. So we're doing a quick what is this called?
A quick
Podcast?
pop-up podcast.
Pop-up podcast
That's right.
about building together as husband and wife couple, but then feeling alone. Building together, feeling alone. And I wanted to bring this to light because we know this is not often talked about very frequently, or I mean, I haven't really heard about it much at all. But we know that it's real. We know
At
that
least
it's
not
true.
publicly, not out in the public space.
Yes. So what we're going to do is we were going to put this on an episode for an upcoming upcoming podcast episodes. But we said, you know what? Why don't we go live with it so people don't have to wait? And if there's any wants to be like any questions or type of discussion going forward, we will be there. We'll be live for it. So here we are. What we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and hop on in, and you all can let us know where you're coming in from as well. But let's just
Let's do it.
Okay, so I remember not too long ago, we were doing some onboarding for our team and bringing on some new team members, and I realized something. I realized that I was the one who was interviewing, which was fine. I'm accustomed to doing that as an owner of a staffing company, but that was my company. And this time, this is for our company. So I realized, you know what? I feel like I'm kind of doing a lot of the work part of it, like the actual work for what we need to do alone. And I knew that I needed to say something quickly to my husband in order for my heart to not get all caught up and get emotional, and then it goes somewhere else that it doesn't even need to go. So I didn't like how I was feeling. And I went and I said, let me tell my husband right now. In fact, he was taking a shower. And I went in, I was like, I gotta talk to you. He was like, okay, is it important? I was like, yeah, I just want to tell you something real quick. And I wasn't coming from like an emotional spot, but I just said, I just want to tell you, I'm not, whatever I said about, this is how I feel about such and such. And I don't want to feel like I'm doing it alone. And that was it. And then he said something along the lines of,
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know you felt that way.
I think it was real short. Like, I know, well, I hear you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that you felt that way, but I hear you.
Yeah. So when he told me that he heard me, I was like, okay, great. And I just walked away. I kept it moving. And so there were a lot of lessons in that, because now what has happened as a result of that has been really quite amazing. And we wanted to share this with you all because we know that if you and your spouse have not felt this way, or one of you felt this way in the past, or, you're not feeling this way right now, you may feel this way in the future. And, there's some great lessons that have come out of this. I feel like we're even stronger now than we were before that quick conversation. And so that's what we're going to dive into today. So here's some things that we're going to be talking about on this episode of the Marriedpreneur Life podcast.
All right, so here is what you're going to learn in this episode. One is how to have a healthy conversation that actually pivots you to building together versus trying to build divided. And then secondly, you're going to learn how to recognize the times in business when your spouse really needs you the most. Third and lastly, you're going to learn how to expand your influence within your marriage and within your business as you two are building together.
Yes. So y'all ready?
All right, let's do it.
Go. Okay.
All right. So what's up, everybody? This is O.L. Buckley.
I'm Slay Buckley
of MarriedpreneurLife.com. Yep. And this is where we help mission-minded married entrepreneurs, those of you who want to get more clarity, generate more income, but above all of that, you want to leave a lasting impact.
Yes, married entrepreneurs come to us to sync high-level systems with laser clear strategy to build out a solid structure for their legacy and to do so profitably and peaceably. So whether you're an indiepreneur, spousalpreneur, or couplepreneur, this is going to be some gold for you. And we are glad you were here. If you have no idea what indie, spousal, and couplepreneurs are, let me break that down real quick. So indiepreneurs are the marriedpreneur type where both spouses are building individual separate businesses. And then the spousalpreneurs is the marriedpreneur type where one spouse is building the business while the other spouse is working a 9-to-5. And then we have the couplepreneurs, and that's where both spouses are building the same business together. So indie, spousal, or couple. Now you can be a combination of these. You can transition. We started off as spousal and then went to indie and then now couple and indie. So you can be a combination, all of the great things. So let us know in the comments what you are. Indie, put I start signing. I don't know why. And spousal, put an S, and couple, put a C. Let us know. Let us know. So, what we're going to do though, let's dive right into the goal for you. As I mentioned, how I was feeling when I was doing not too long ago an interview, bringing some more help on board, and I felt
It was actually onboarding.
Yes,
the interview was done at this point because I was a part of the interview.
Okay,
but
yes.
The onboarding, go ahead.
You want to get those? Yes, you were a part of the interview. That's right.
Just want to tell the story accurately.
You tell the story accurately. You are right, sir. He was a part of the interview process. It was the onboarding. And I felt like, well, why am I feeling like I'm doing the bulk of this alone? And that wasn't what we agreed upon, nor did we talk about who was going to do what. But I was like, something doesn't feel right. So I went ahead and let you know. And you were very gracious. I want to say thank you for that and taking note and actually hearing and listening. And we didn't even talk about it after that. It's like you just knew whatever you could do, you would do, and you did that. So I think it's important for us to share for those of you who may have been in that situation or are in that situation right now. These are some things like it does get better and it can get better. I think it's important to have a few tools or use these tools for sure that would make and support this process I would make it lighter, I would say, so it's not as heavy with the lifting. So here are some things. The first one is really having that conversation. I think it's important. Well, if it's the wife or the husband, either one, because I know men could hold things in as well too. So for either one, really being healthy, but walking in grace and truth and love with that, but being matter of fact, frank about it. Like, this is how it made me feel. I say that because oftentimes it's easy to get caught up in the emotions of it and like, you never do this. And I always feel like I'm doing this and I just don't. And then even if you don't express it in that way, if those are thoughts that are going on in your heart, it's ultimately going to come out in one way or another. It's going to come out. Like, you cannot not allow that to come out because it's a part of what's going on in the heart. So this is the reason why I wanted to quickly address this situation, because I didn't want this conversation to go on in my heart. And then I had to take back the layers from that and like, oh, no, that's not him, but this is me. And then, I just wanted to say, hey, this is what it is. Really put the emotions to this side, but actually speak of my emotions without being emotional. And that has really worked well for us. But I know I do need to do it when I feel a certain way. I know I need to work on it, like respond quickly to it. And so I did. And I felt like it was very healthy. And what was said and how it was the response to that as well too. So that's just the first part. Okay. That's the beginning part, and not expecting our spouse to know what's going on in our head and know what we're thinking, why we're thinking, how long we've been feeling this way. And then it just comes out at some other time that doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even add up. So get to it fast, get to it quickly, but do it with grace, do it in love. And that's the first part.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that I was gracious, but and I appreciate that acknowledgement. I think the harder part, though, would have been for me to be responsive. Sometimes in a situation like that, especially if nothing seems to be broke on the surface, then there can tend to be the lack of urgency to fix it. And so even if you said to me this was how you were feeling, and so that is a type of broken or breakdown within our working together, it would have been more difficult if I allowed it for me to be responsive than it would have been perhaps even for me to be gracious in that instance. At least for me, that would have been the case. And so, immediately I thought to myself, not just that day, but even like the next day, okay, what can I do to immediately action number one, opportunity number one, to turn that around, to show my presence, to say, hey, you don't have to feel alone. I don't want you to feel alone. Now that you've told me that you felt alone, let me immediately do at the first opportunity I can, let me immediately do the first thing I can do to show you that you're not alone. And one of the ways, I could have had all these conversations in my head, like, what do you mean you're feeling alone? Like, are you kidding me? I'm here. You're doing your wealth roles. I'm doing my wealth roles, not to mention the other businesses that we have and all of that. So it's not like you didn't know my schedule. Of course you know my schedule. You above anybody would know what my schedule is like. So my thinking was, where can I show up and have my presence felt, realized, and known? And so the following day, I think it was the following day, we had a meeting, or you had a scheduled meeting, and I said, I'm going to show up for this. And so this is the point that I'm really getting at. And that is this: your presence to your spouse it can be more important to them than the role that they play. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Primarily, when we're talking about onboarding and a lot of the interfacing with our team members, for the most part, the bulk of that interaction is within your wealth role. That's not to say, and this is, could be seasonal, like seasonally, this is where we are. But just because that falls within your scope doesn't mean that I can't be present or that I shouldn't be present. So I thought to myself, even though the next meeting doesn't fall in my category or wealth role, let me still show up, because I recognize that even though you got it, and there's no doubt about it, if I never showed up to that meeting, you would have had that meeting and the meeting still would have been successful. But it's not about so much the meeting being successful. It's about your sense of security and feeling like we're doing this together being successful that made me say, let me show up for that. And I didn't show up because I necessarily thought I had something to contribute, in the way of what was tactically being addressed. But I wanted to show up to say, hey, I'm here. I'm one of the team members. And if by chance I can, contribute value to this immediate specific thing that we're talking about, then I'll do so. But just so you know, I'm here. And so I realized that presence is a powerful thing as you two are building together to helping your spouse to not feel alone.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for saying that. I want to jump to a different point that's not really in the order that we said we would talk about it in, but I think I think the flow of it really is going to help some people, some couples, some legacy builders out there. And that is the point of, so that was the first part, right? The second part, or thing to remember, or action to take, is for the one who may be feeling like you're building your business alone, even though you are married, whether you're indie spousal or couplepreneur, it doesn't even matter. It's really, talking about the support and what that means and in what way. And of course, there's so many different ways to show support. Now we have an understanding what our support would look like based on how we talked during our legacy meetings, but we didn't get to the nitty gritty of like, are you going to show up, for this or for that? Because some things, it's like you said, there's no need to. But when it came for that onboarding piece, a big light bulb came on for me. I'm like, well, you weren't needed to be there. I didn't need for you to be there. I just wanted you to ask about it. I just wanted you to acknowledge and say, how did it go? How did everything go? How are you feeling? Like just having that kind of support. So I didn't even really require, quote unquote, you to come into the space, but you coming into the space spoke volumes more of just asking, of simply asking. I'm not going to say just asking, but simply asking. It made a huge difference to me. So thank you for that. And here's the thing that I want to share for the one or the spouse who may be feeling like you're building together, but you're feeling alone. Here's what I want to share with you. A tip or insight is to gladly welcome and be openly vocal about appreciating the strides your spouse is taking concerning the business. Even if they're not the ones who are running it, especially if you're spousalpreneurs or you're indiepreneurs and they have their, their hands on other things. But even if couplepreneurs as well too, but just being mindful to be openly vocal about the appreciation, because I know we can be openly vocal about what we don't appreciate, right? We can be quick to be like, you don't ever do this, and then I mean, we shouldn't use absolutes anyway, but let's just act like no one knew that. But now we know, don't use absolutes. But using words that would say, this is how I'm feeling, we should be quick to speak up. Oftentimes we are quick to speak up on what we don't like or what we don't want. But I think it's just equally, if not more valuable, to be as quick or quicker even about being vocal about appreciating the strides, even if it's not what you wanted fully, or even if it's not what you expected, like, oh, you didn't need to do it like that. I would not have done like that. But just being like, you know what? Thank you. I see you. I see your effort. Thank you. And so,
Go ahead,
I was going to,
ask him that.
okay. So that meeting that he was talking about that he just came in on, that I was not expecting to see him on, I was like, oh, I felt like it was like a cameo, something like appearance. Like I wasn't expecting you to be there. What's that old TV show called something on camera?
Candid Camera.
Yeah, Candid Camera. I felt like that. I felt like I was like I think like it was a joke going on. I was like, oh, my husband is in the meeting. I didn't expect him to be here. And so we're like laughing, and I'm just like excited and kind of giddy, like, oh, wow, that's so awesome. So anyway, as he came into the meeting, I made sure, just to say thank you for coming. And then afterwards, wow, I didn't expect you to be here. Thank you for showing up. Did I ask? I was really confused because I said, did I ask you to come? Did I tell you that I was expecting you to be here? It's like, no, I just wanted to come. I just saw that you were about to meet, and I wanted to stick my head in. And I'm like, wow, that really, really means a lot to me. And so I like to vocally, and still do it again. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for coming and just, being present. And hopefully my words of appreciation are weighty in your heart, that they mean something. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, it absolutely made me feel like my efforts, large or small, were being acknowledged. And so whenever somebody's trying to prepare something, they want their efforts to be acknowledged. And so that was very helpful and very encouraging me to continue that. So I appreciate that. And on that point, I want to offer just a way to think about it in case you're the spouse who's listening to this or watching this, and you may say, okay, I'm the one that, needs to have a greater presence. And you may not know exactly where to sort of step up or how to sort of step up and insert. In case you have the tendency to overcomplicate it, let me help simplify what that will look like. Number one, I would say to you this, and this is what I'm adopting in my mind. And this was really, I did this not realizing this was sort of the way that the way I was thinking about it. It was more, I don't know, subconscious, but I'm more conscious of it now. And so that is this. Number one, I would say ask or show up, or maybe you could say ask and or show up when something is new. We're bringing on a new team member. That could be a good trigger point to say, you know what? My presence, my inquiry needs to go here.
Yeah.
Right? When something is new. The second thing I would say is ask or show up when nothing is wrong. When nothing is wrong. Do it just cause drop in. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what that meeting was that I came to. It didn't necessitate that I be there in order for the meeting to be successful, but I inserted myself in that meeting. I even came in with a bowl of cereal on Zoom, and I inserted myself. And so that's the second part that I would add to that. And then if you're thinking, okay, what else? Here's the last part that I would mention is show up when something is wrong. Yeah. See, it's something new, nothing's wrong, something's wrong. If you look at those three categories, is this new? Let me show up or ask about it. Is nothing wrong? Let me still show up just cause or ask just cause. And definitely if something is wrong, let me show up and ask, right? So those are three sort of ways that I think about it. Now, that doesn't mean I do it all the time, but I definitely do it far more than I did prior.
I can tell a huge difference. I'm going to say that again. I can tell a huge difference. So thank you.
Absolutely. Now, let's go to, let me say this. There is the reality that if we say we're building together, building requires us to scale. And so as we're building, I recognize that there are, for us as couplepreneurs, because you and I both have a face, and by that I mean a visible presence to our market within the context of our business. This may not be the case. That may not be the case for spousalpreneurs. Maybe in a spousalpreneur scenario, just one of you may be the face of the business. And, you know, and even indiepreneur. This could even tie in for those of you who are indiepreneurs. But it's about standing shoulder to shoulder as you two are building, and this is really important. I would say in transition and in trench work. So if it's a launch going on, show up. If it's a transition happening, maybe we're letting a team member go. Doesn't always have to be adding a team member. Maybe we're doing something else in the business. Maybe there's a pivot in the business. We want to show up during those really critical points, because there can tend to be, like in any transition, an element of uncertainty, an element of uncomfortableness. Maybe we're charting new territory. Maybe we're expanding our product or solution. And it's like, look, infrastructurally, internally, I don't have to be the face of the company in order for me to stand shoulder to shoulder with you. So systematically, infrastructurally, as we're doing the behind the scenes stuff, I want to have a presence that says, you know what, I'm here. And when you're talking about, in this particular case, bringing on a new team member, the team member is not interfacing with our market, you know, but they're working within the team. So in a sense, they are impacting and helping to impact the client base. So it's like, you know what, let me show a presence there. And here's what that looked like. And you mentioned this the other day. There was a meeting, well, actually, regarding that particular meeting. Now in Voxer, so we were communicating in Voxer. It was like, hey, there was communication going on. And I saw that it was between two parties that I really didn't play a role in, but I still saw that. And that created my awareness, and I showed up. And so it's paying attention. It's having awareness to what's going on within the business to say, hey, I'm aware of this, so that if I'm aware of it, I can inquire about it. I can show up to it if you know, that's what I want to do. And internally, I want you to feel and know that we're standing shoulder to shoulder. And that's really the most important thing.
Yeah. So we hope that these points have been helpful for you all as you all are building your business, your legacy, and ultimately your marriage together. That is critical to make sure that you're having that healthy communication, to make sure that it's not, you may be able to, you know, talk about your emotions without being emotional, and then being heard. And when your spouse hears you, to be able to speak back and vocalize that great appreciation, even for the smallest thing. That's like, I see you. I just want to let you know I see you. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. And that makes a huge difference. So we're going to head over now to the Enjoying the Journey Together segment. Now, for those of you who are here live, you're welcome to please let us know in the comments as we chime off of here. You can let us know if this is helpful for you, some of your takeaways, and also any questions that you may have. If you're dealing with it right now, I'm sure there's a lot of like, amen, amen, amen. I get it. Or if it's something that you've been through, or you may like want to be like, let me get ready for it, because seasons come and change, and we're human. So it's easy to forget. It's easy to drop some balls, emotional balls even. So we want to just remind you all, even as you're building together, you're building your business, building your marriage, building your legacies together, how important it is just to be mindful of these types of feelings and not allow them to be brushed under the rug or the carpet, so to speak. So we hope this has been helpful. Thanks. So good to see you all over there in the comments. I'm knocking things down. Do let us know in the comments. We'll go ahead and make sure this stays live, and let us know how this has helped you, and any questions that we can assist with as well. Until next time.
To live in purposefully,
powerfully,
and profitably
in sync. All right. Peace out, y'all. Have a good one.